Time for another edition of the Kaufman Corner podcast. David Lesky, Soren Petro with you, coming off a big sweep for the Kansas City Royals. If you catch us via the podcast later in the week, remember, you can be a part of the conversation live Sunday nights at 9 o'clock. And half hour or so ago, Kansas City Royals completed a sweep of the Angels, a dramatic come-from-behind win. We'll be talking about that, what that all means, getting that done. Plus, are they starting to turn things in the right direction? Overall, is Bobby getting hot? How about Jac Caglianone with a home run? How about Carter Jensen's bat? How about Carter Jensen's glove? How about Nick Loftin even hitting? 10 walks on Saturday. Cole Ragans dealing. We'll talk about that. Daniel Lynch, is he ready for maybe an even bigger role? What's it going to take to win the division, the Central Division? We'll talk about that. It's here right now on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. David, how about that? To borrow a phrase from the late, great Yankees announcer, Mel Allen, the Royals come all the way back. I believe it's the biggest comeback of the year in all of Major League Baseball with this come from behind win. What do we make of this, and what do we make of what it all means here moving forward?
I don't know what it means moving forward. I know that if they didn't do this, and win today was great, obviously, but if they didn't have the week they did, I think we'd be talking about who should they draft at number 6 overall for a really long time. And that's way too long to talk about the baseball draft because very few people know anybody in the draft. So it's good that we don't have to. It was a good week in general, which is interesting because it started off on a horrific note. I mean, Monday night's game, I want to get this out of the way. Monday night's game was the most frustrated I've been watching the Royals in years, I think, when that was brutal. Obviously they ended up scoring some runs, and maybe it was a precursor. Maybe it was, hey, this offense is getting going. They just can't get the runs across the plate. But once they get the runners on base, they'll start to get them across the plate. Maybe that's all it was. But yeah, it's this week was exactly what the Royals needed, and this weekend was exactly what they needed because they're right back in it, which is an indictment on the rest of the division, also. But who cares? That's the division they play in. So they're 3.5 back now, and all of a sudden, they another hot week, and they're good to go.
Yeah, the team is, are they hot? I mean, can we actually say it? They suddenly know how to hit.
They've won 4 or 5.
They've now scored 46 runs in 6 games.
Yeah,
I mean, this is I don't know that we expected almost 8 runs a game. Nobody does that, but I mean, It's starting to look like a lot more like what we thought this team would be. I mean, after just a terrible start, they're starting to play at the level that we thought they could play, and I like the way you put it. I mean, we would be talking draft, if they didn't get things going this week the way they have, and I think today's just we'll see. Momentum's as good as your next day starting pitcher and all the other adages of baseball, but to dig the hole.
But also, their next day starting pitcher is usually pretty good.
Yeah, I really wasn't even that down. I'd kind of chalked it up for a loss, And I was like, okay, you still take 2 out of 3. This is still progress, right? You're still going in the right direction. But to do it the way to come back and get the win, and in the division right now, they are just 3.5 games back. Yeah, that's the thing, is like no one's run away and hidden this. 15-14 is first place. Everybody in the American League, with the exception of now, the Yankees, I guess the Rays, are now 5 over. But, A's, they're first place in the American League West at 15-13. I mean, for the most part, other than a couple of teams, everybody's right around 500. So if you can just hang on to that, you're in the mix. And this, I think this is the kind of thing. And the fact that they got contributions all over the place. Lane Thomas coming through at the very end. Jac Caglianone gets his second home run of the year. All those things. Bobby Witt Jr. gets his first home run of the year. Now you're just Vinny Pasquantino and Salvador Perez hitting away from being, a team that's as good as anybody in the American League right now. I don't know.
But I agreed. I thought it was, look, I don't know if it's a sign or if it just happened, but there were 2 outs and nobody on. And I was sitting with my wife and I said, they need Salvador Perez and Vinny Pasquantino both have to get a hit for the Royals to have any shot to win. So this game is over. And she was like, yeah, let's we ate downstairs because the game got weird timing wise.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, let's start cleaning up. And then Vinny triples and Salvi. I was like, oh well, they both did. So now they have to win. Because there's actually a Royals rule. I think a lot of people are finding out that if I say something, it's wrong. And so if I make a prediction, just bet the other way. But maybe that was the start. And Salvi's had a couple of moments. He homered the home run on last night on, what was it, 98 inside. That was encouraging because I've been so worried about his bat speed, and the bat speed is still down, but you can turn on that pitch. You got a little juice left somewhere. So that's encouraging. I'm still not optimistic, but it's encouraging. Vinny's been slightly, getting going a little bit. So, there are some really good signs with this team. The one thing that I will say, and I'll give you a fun stat on Isaac Collins real quick. At home, he needs to hit in 3 different spots in the lineup. They need to figure out how to clone him. 340, 439, 489 at home. He is 0 for 22 on the road.
Who's this now?
Isaac Collins. What's the deal?
He does not have a hit on the road.
Let me look at. I have it up. I want to make sure I have this right because I think I do. Yes, on the road, 0 for 22 with 14 strikeouts in 24 plate appearances.
Wow.
He has 13 strikeouts in now 57 plate appearances at home. And you can't even say yes, Kauffman Stadium is hitter friendly. It always has been, fences or not. It's not even a ballpark he's familiar with.
Right.
So it's a weird split, and it's just a fun one that I wanted to throw out there. But it's fun when they're home. It's not so fun when they're on the road. But you mentioned contributions up and down. He was phenomenal this week. I mean, big hits left and right, homered today. They honestly, I feel like everybody was phenomenal this week. Like I always do the player of the week on my weekend in review, and I don't know who I'm going to pick. I'm sure I haven't looked, so I'm sure there's a choice that actually does stand out. But I mean, it was a week of contributions from literally everybody, and they needed that.
Yeah, and how about the fact that in 3 games they drew 20 walks? Now, granted, this game went an extra inning, but they drew 20 walks in 3 games, and they're now hitting. Right, that's been the thing, and I'll give great credit to you, David. Because you talked about as the hitting was struggling, you said, listen, last year the Blue Jays changed their approach, brought in a new hitting coach, and the Royals brought in 2, second lieutenants, if you will, this offseason, and that it took them a little while, the whole first half, like they weren't doing anything, and then they took off and plowed all the way into the World Series. Kind of feels like maybe that's happening, and it's not taking all the way to the halfway point. I mean, because I do think the approach that's what we've been questioning is, okay, we like that they're walking, we like that they're not chasing, we like all those things, but they were letting fastballs go by, right? Mm-hmm. They were not swinging at good pitches. And if they've now figured out that balance, like it starts out like this, well, you're taking, and that's good, but you're taking too much. And we got to find right here. And the more you hit, the more they'll pitch around you. And so maybe the walks can stay up while the hits stay up. I mean, it definitely, feels like maybe they're all collectively settling in.
Yeah, I mean, it does take some time to figure out how to be a different type of hitter than you've been in the past. And some of it too, they brought in guys who had that approach. Like Collins is a guy who had that approach already. Lane Thomas is a guy who had that approach already. I mean, he's sitting, what is he? He's got a 359 on base percentage this year, which not the average isn't wonderful. It's 226 now after a 3-hit day. The slug is still just over 300 now with the home run. I think that was his second extra base hit. He had a double earlier this year. So, but he's getting on base. And so they brought in some guys who do what they want the rest of the team to do, but some other guys have also stepped up. And, coming into today, you're looking at a handful of guys who hadn't really done much walking before, but like Bobby Witt Jr. coming in today, 11.2% walk rate. Vinny was up to 12.5%, which that was a part of his game when he first came up and then went away the last couple of years. Even Jac Caglianone was at just under 9% coming into today. Now it's going to go down a little bit because of two at bats without a walk, but we were okay with one of them for sure. And yeah, so I think there is some getting, you if you've ever, I bought Bombas socks for the first time. Let me give an analogy here. Like 3 or 4 years ago, and I always wore that. You go to TJ Maxx, you get the socks off the shelf. They're fine. I got a gift of Bombas socks. They felt a little weird at first. They were like this perfect fit, but they felt a little weird. I had to get used to them. You got to get used to this actual good plate approach sometimes with some of these guys. And look, it could change. I don't think it will because they're going to Sacramento where, like you and I could probably poke one out on a mistake pitch. No, we could together. If I hit the ball to you wherever and you hit it from where I hit it, we could hit a tag team home run. I guarantee it.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
But I don't think they're going to have trouble. I hope they don't have trouble in Sacramento. If they do, they're like the first team ever. But it may not end up meaning much, but I think we're starting to see them get comfortable with this, and we're starting to see them understand, okay, yes, there are pitches to take and there are pitches to swing at. And that's a tough thing to learn, especially when you haven't been doing that.
Yeah. Let me say, first of all, Salvador Perez has a 221 on base and Vinny Pasquantino has a 267 on base. I'm aware of that, right? I'm aware of that. But let me read off some of the other on base percentages. Lane Thomas, 359, you mentioned. Bobby Witt Jr., 368. Jac Caglianone, 344. Carter Jensen, 351. Nick Loftin, 400. Isaac Collins, 346. Michael Garcia, 339. Who are these guys? This is not the Royals organization.
Garcia, among guys with 30-plus plate appearances, Michael Garcia is at 339, and he is 8th best. The 8th best on base percentage on the team, and 30 is I use that for Nick Loftin just to get him in there. If you want to say what would the next lowest be, 64, I think, then he's 7th best. Whatever, I don't care, because if you look at last year, 339 would have been. I'm pulling it up right now. I should have had it ready. I tried to talk slow. 339 among hitters with at least 300 plate appearances would have been 3rd best on the team, and it's 8th best among guys with 30 plate appearances. 339 would have been 3rd best if at 200 plus. So like this is very different.
Yeah, and extra base hits, doubles today. Marte, Loftin, triple, Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, home runs, Thomas, Witt, Collins, Kagleon. I mean, extra base power is something that they have just not had for a long, long time, and now they've got it. And I think it's massive. And I think part of it, how much of this is fueled by Bobby Witt Jr. starting to get hot when your MVP starts to hit like an MVP. And listen, and by the way, he was hitting and playing like an MVP even before he finally hit the ball over the wall, because that's what MVPs look like when they're not going good, is they're still a good player, which is what he was. But when they're going good, they're a great, fantastic player. He's hitting the ball over the wall now, along with his great defense, speed on the bases. We saw him run around the bases today. I mean, if he's going to get hot, then that's I think a big part of the equation. That's taking the pressure off everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, he came into the day 10th in baseball in Fangraphs wins above replacement with 0 home runs, with a sub 400 slugging percentage. It's very difficult to rank that well with a sub 400 slugging percentage. The guys on the list ahead of him, 626, 505, 595, 569, 539, 633, 759, 482, and 755. Those are the 9 guys with higher wins above replacement than Witt coming into today, and he was at 375. So that's how good a player he is. And if the power starts to come back, which, by the way, I did not realize this, but did you know that, was it 2 years ago he hit 32 home runs? Was that the year, or was it 3 years ago? I can't.
23
either way, 23 last year and then 32 the year before. I believe I saw this. I should have double checked this before I started talking, but I think he had 2 through April. No, he had 4 at the end of April.
I think he had 2 last year and ended up with 23. 2 years
Is that
ago,
what it was?
4 and ended up with 32, I think was the number.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 last year and 23. And okay. That's right. He's a slow starter with power. He was a slow starter, and then he became a slow starter with power. Look, next year we need to see more home runs in April. I don't want to pretend like this is great. We want to see this the rest of his career. I want to see him get to May 1st with 7 home runs one year. I want to see what happens if he does that. But he has fixed every year. Again, another one of those things he's fixed, that he struggled with power, or he struggled with everything his first couple of years early. And now he's struggling with power early, but he's still getting on base. He's still hitting the ball. He's going to be fine. I can't stress that enough. The other thing with Witt too, everybody hates the expected stats, but coming into today, he had a 375 slug, but a 468 expected slug. I mean, some of it was he was hitting the ball hard in the wrong place, which happens. And over 6 months, it evens out.
Yeah. I think, and just, it just, when you have that guy that a pitcher really fears,
mm-hmm.
It's the mental wear and tear. You gotta, go through your bullpen differently. It makes it all. And I felt like, his home run ball, there was a little bit of this guy's not, his power didn't come around till later. I'm just going to pump this one over the plate. And he turned it around and put it in the seats. So I think that's a big part of the equation for this team overall. It's not that it's on him. It's not that they weren't hitting because Bobby wasn't playing better. That's
yes.
not. I want to be clear that this is not like the old days when I'd do post game and Mike Sweeney'd have 2 home runs, 2 solo home runs, and then fly out at the warning track in the game. They'd lose 3-2, and people would say Mike Sweeney wasn't clutch. That's not at all what I'm saying about Bobby Witt Jr. And Mike Sweeney was very clutch, and Mike Sweeney was a great hitter when he was with the Royals. The problem wasn't him; it was the rest of the team, and it's largely the rest of the team. But when Bobby does this, it just makes it easier for the rest
mm-hmm.
of the team. I think to be able to get going, and it just takes a lot of pressure off everybody. One of the guys who takes pressure off of Jac Caglianone. We'll talk about that after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Concrete season is in full swing and asphalt paving is revving up. So right now is the time to get your property on the schedule with Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Whether you need new concrete work, a parking lot repaved, crack filling, seal coating, or full asphalt installation, their experienced crews handle it all right here in Kansas City. Don't wait until the rush hits. Call today for a free bid and secure your spot before the calendar fills up. Get the process started right now at GannAsphalt.com. That's GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine-in, carry-out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements. All right, let's talk about Jac Caglianone. By the way, some love to our friends at Italian Delight. It's really good, even right out of the freezer. I had some leftover pizza from Italian Delight and made for the wonderful late night snack, which I shouldn't have. But when it's there, I'm going to have it. It's great. Warm it up. It's even fantastic for leftovers out of the freezer. So love to our friends there at Italian Delight over there on State Ave. Let's talk about Jac Caglianone. Love for him. 2 home runs in his last 5 games. You know, much ado about nothing when we weren't seeing the power early on. You know, it all appears to be coming together now, or too early to tell.
No, I mean, he looks better. It's funny with Kagleon because every time I think, you know what? I think he's figuring it out. He looks as bad as humanly possible. Like that at bat, the pinch hit at bat he had, whatever inning that was, 8th inning, I think. Maybe it was the 7th. I don't know. It doesn't matter. When he took the pitch that he thought was a ball, but didn't challenge it, which, by the way, you've got challenges for a reason. If you're that convinced, tap your helmet. Like, just do. If you don't spin around and shake your head and be angry. Just tap your helmet.
I think at some point that you got some guys who got to start losing that privilege.
I agree to some extent, but also, I mean, I don't know. It's easy for me to say that because he would have been right. So I guess that's fair, but also on a 1-1 count in the 8th inning of a close game, there's not a better time, especially if you're that. Anyway, doesn't matter. And then he swung and missed it and looked ugly. And I'm going, yeah, he's never going to hit. And then, of course, the 9th inning, just massive home run. You know, last 10 games, he's now 11 for 36, a couple homers, 2 RBIs. Hadn't had an RBI until the other day. I don't know if I'm not there. I'm not like,
I know where you're going. Hey, when to move him up, right?
Well, maybe. Here's what's concerned. Everybody says move Carter and Cags up. Okay, I'll buy Jensen. I buy Jensen 100%. I loved him in the leadoff spot. We'll get to that. The problem that I have with moving Caglianone up is the Royals spent the winter telling us that he mentally struggled last year. When he didn't hit, it got to him, and he needed and the mental game needed a reset and all that. So there's a really fine line with him. Do you say, I don't care that he's hitting, we're going to leave him where he's successful and let him feel good? Or do you say, we're throwing you in the deep end and you're going to hit 4th? And I don't know what the answer is. And that's why Matt Quatrero makes a lot more money than I do, because it's a really difficult decision, because it's not just, oh, well, he's hitting, move him up. Well, he might be a little more fragile and you might have to handle him. I wish he didn't, but they sat and told it. I mean, JJ Picollo and Matt Quatrero said it multiple times throughout the winter in interviews that it got to him. It got to him. The struggles got to him. Maybe you just let him cook in that 6 or 7 spot and say, you're going to help the bottom of our lineup. And next year, once you come to camp feeling good, assuming it works, you're going to be a much bigger part of the middle of our order. But so that's where it gets a little tricky, and I don't quite know how to handle that.
I think how would you do it? I mean, I guess if you want to move both those guys up, we talk about Carter Jensen in the leadoff spot, right? That's let's just go ahead and broach that topic, because Jensen leading off, Witt 2, Vinny 3. We're assuming he's going to hit at some point. Yeah. Cags 5. Who's 4? Like, we all agree Salvador Perez needs to be 6 or 7 or 8.
Yes.
Like, if this team is going to make a run at a World Series, Salvador Perez needs to be down hitting 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range. So fill me in the lineup. I mean,
well,
he's not batting 4.
Why not?
I mean, I mean, you could do it.
Think about I'm looking right now because I don't remember. I want to make sure I have the right date, but they moved Garcia to the middle
not too long ago.
Last year they did it. I guess it was start of June. So that's not the best example because June was terrible, but the offense was good for the last 3 months of the season. So 3 of the 4 months with Garcia hitting fourth was positive. When they separated Vinny and Salvi was when, not right when, obviously, because June was terrible, but they got the most production with that lineup. That Salvi was behind Garcia and Vinny and Garcia was between those two. It's not traditional, but neither is Jensen leading off. And I think so. I think there are a few ways you can go. I love the idea of Bobby Witt leading off. He doesn't seem to, and I have no problem saying if he doesn't like it, don't do it. And I don't mess with what works, all that stuff. I would love to see Witt, Jensen, Garcia, that order. I don't think we're going to see it. So I do think you do. I do think it's Jensen, Witt, Vinny, Garcia. I would go Cags 5 and Salvi 6. But again, then you get to that mental game. You get to the mental part of the game is, do you want to just let Kagleon succeed in the 7 spot?
Well, I think we're not talking about, Tuesday in, I forget which one's first, if it's the A's or the Mariners.
A's first.
The A's. Tuesday in Sacramento. We're just talking about he clearly needs more time before you make that move. But that's where you're thinking in the back of your head, on
I think so.
Get to.
I think you hope that in a perfect world, you get hot, you get over 500, you make a run. When you're competing for a playoff spot on September 15th, Jac Caglianone is hitting somewhere in the 4 or 5. That's what you're hoping for come September, I think. And you got to get there eventually. There's a lot of work to do. There's still 6 games under 500. So it's not like that's going to happen tomorrow either. But I think that the best version of the Royals, I think, has Jensen and Caglianone hitting in the top 5, both of them, wherever it is. I don't know how it fits, but I think that's the best version. Well, if it's working, obviously.
Well, so one of them's got to be up at the top.
Yeah, I love Jensen at the top. I love his on base. He's not a burner, but he's not slow. I need to look again. His sprint speed was pretty comparable with Michael Garcia's, or at least a couple weeks ago. So, he's at 27.3 feet per second, which is 57th percentile. And sprint speed's not everything. Like Garcia's got better top end speed, but Garcia's at 27.4 feet per second. It's not like you're giving up a ton of sprint speed. I think it makes a lot of sense. The only issue that I see is I've heard from people that it's tough for catchers to lead off, especially at home, because the gear and all that. But then you also think about it. Well, catchers lead off other innings.
Well, they've got to do it. Let's go ahead and go there. The pass ball, which could have cost them the game in the 10th inning, can't happen. I mean, it can't happen. So where are we on the fact that he is a catcher? Like Blake Mitchell's still there, and maybe for a reason, because maybe they're giving the catching thing a go, and eventually he's going to end up someplace else.
So he does really well with framing, which may not matter in a couple of years.
Right.
It matters less today than it did last year. It still matters though. He's very good there. His arm is good. His pop time is good. There's a lot to like about him at the catching position. The problem is the position is called catcher, and sometimes he struggles to catch the ball. It's not great. Did they call that a wild pitch? And in the earlier one,
I think they're both two
pass balls. Okay, I meant to look at the box score and I didn't.
We'll blame Kurt if Kurt's calling them pass balls. I didn't.
Okay, well, if Kurt's wrong, that's not my problem. I'm gonna try to look now, but the earlier one wasn't. They were 2 pass balls. That wasn't as bad. I didn't think because it was down, but it was still pretty bad. I've noticed there've been a couple issues lately, but his blocking has been, I mean, if you look at Baseball Savant has blocks above average, he's in the 8th percentile, -3. That's really bad. And that's, for a team that you're trying to get swing and miss, you get swing and miss on pitches in the dirt a lot. You've got to block that pitch. And if there's a runner on third, or there's a runner on first or second, you can't let that go because it's got to
be bad.
It's rough.
I mean, there's no good time to let it go. I mean, you've got to, and it's not like you can just pick, oh, now no one's on, so I'm going to let it go. Like, it's an instinct move. It's going to haunt you. But I do, Vols has said this a couple times, that catching is such a rough position. And I agree. And, he is a rookie. So, and that's what Jeff said here. He said, he's a rookie. He'll improve. I agree. He'll improve.
Hopefully.
The question is, will he improve enough? Right? Because right now it's in the back of your head. You got to be thinking, where would you put him?
Well, and you wonder too, is it in his head? And then now is he starting to get tight? And and I think that's what happened with the pitch, with the Urseg pitch, is he was ready to block it and couldn't, because he struggled on a block earlier and couldn't get up fast enough because he was so focused on, I can't let this pass me, that he let it past him, which still gets in your head a little bit. And I don't think he's a mentally weak player or anything, but he's a human being who, you make a mistake, you're 100% going to try to not make that mistake again. Like that's just what people do. To your question, I don't know where you put him. It's probably corner outfield, right? I mean, from what I understand, he's been tried at third before and it was not pretty. He was, I believe, a teenager then. So, could be different now. Also, they just signed their third baseman for 5 years. So probably not going to make that move. I mean, he's got the arm for a corner outfield, but then you start to look at, okay, what's your corner outfield? It's a catcher and a first baseman. And then Kyle Isbell's time is probably coming to an end pretty soon. I mean, he's going to start to get expensive. And if this bat is real for him, which we haven't even really talked about a whole lot this year, but you start to say, okay, I'll pay you a little bit more as you get through arbitration, but they might be moving on from him soon too. So it's a tough spot the Royals are in.
It is. And right now they don't have to do anything with it because, and I think, what was this? Tyler said this, Bobby Witt Jr. had a lot of errors his first year at shortstop, so much so people wanted him in center field. Tough to work through, but if Jensen is good at everything else, let's give him the time to get better blocking. Agreed.
Sure.
We're not throwing him out, throwing the baby out with the bathwater right now. We're just bringing up, it was rough today. And it was like, we were all getting ready to talk about this would have a different tone if they didn't win. Okay. Like there'd be more fire and venom and like, what, can we not coach any? It probably would have been towards the organization. Like, can we not coach catching in the minor leagues? Like, what's the deal? I mean, I don't think it would all been, hellfire and brimstone at Carter Jensen, but it'd have been a very different tone. So we're just bringing it up. Like, it doesn't just evaporate. They found a way to win. They overcame it. And let me just say that's another thing about this organization now being a much more professional organization and being a much more accomplished organization and developing players is a guy like Carter Jensen can have a tough day behind the dish and they still can win. Like how many years do we sit and watch a team that if anybody made any mistake, they were just screwed. They were hosed. And so I think that, that's a testament to his teammates, for them, for the camaraderie they have that usually all teams kind of develop to some degree, but this one certainly seems to have and has seemed to have it for the last couple of years that they, Seth Lugo had an ass day.
He did.
And God love him. He digs in and fights through 6+ there for a while. When he gives up the 7th run, I'm like, oh, Christ. Am I going to be talking about, is this all going to be about why did Contreras leave him out there for the one more inning? Is that where we're going to, be on this? When he warriors up and fights through the innings there and really did a nice job of, shutting it down after the first couple of innings. I thought, God, there were like 5 different things. I'm like, well, this is going to be the theme tonight.
I know.
Be the theme tonight. And it was never good, until the very end when it was great. And so I think that is, a testament to a good team. Like their record, they're not a good team yet, record-wise. We think they're a good team. We think they're supposed to be a good team, and that's what good teams do. That's how winning streaks come about. Like I always talk about, like playing blackjack. When you get on a roll playing blackjack, I say it all the times when I'm sitting there with my friends and like we've got 6s and the dealer's got a 10. I'm like, it's winning this hand that you're hot. This is the streak. It's not going 20, 21, 20, 21.
Right.
21. It's a 5-card hit to a 3. Like
Totally.
that gets you there, and that's what this was. This was a good run at the blackjack table where they got dealt a 3, and the dealer's holding a 10. And you hit, and you got a 2, and you got a 4, and they finally it added up to 20, and you got out with a push. That's how you're going good, and that's how you're a good team, is when you can overcome those kind of things. And that's what I feel like they did in this game today, was they were able to go ahead and overcome some of the negatives that were there. All right, we want to get into Nick Loftin a little bit, talk about him. He has certainly been playing better baseball. Is he finally starting to come around and be a part of the equation? That will be a real positive. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Greenlight.
Greenlight Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-thru and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Greenlight difference. Visit us today.
Gann Asphalt and Concrete is looking to grow their team. If you have heavy construction foreman experience with heavy equipment, asphalt or concrete labor, or just want to learn a new trade, contact Gann Asphalt and Concrete to join their team today. Top of the market pay, company provided insurance, and paid time off and holiday pay are just a few of the great reasons to join Gann's expanding team. Learn more about this great opportunity with Gann at GannAsphalt.com/careers. That's GannAsphalt.com/careers. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. All right, let's talk a little bit about Nick Loftin. I've been waiting on this guy. I was thinking, he got $3 million signed. I forget that he was like the sandwich pick.
Mhm.
I was always thinking of him as a second rounder, but I guess he was a sandwich pick. I guess technically he's a first round. First round got $3 million, which is a decent chunk of change, especially with how many years it's been. But if Nick Loftin can become the super sub, if he can be kind of diet Ben Zobrist, I don't want to put anybody at Ben Zobrist level because I don't think Nick Loftin's going to have the kind of power that Ben Zobrist had. But if he can just play all over the diamond, and now he too, talking about the walks earlier, he too is seeming to get to where he's walking like before when he was walking at one point last year early on. I remember Randy pointing out that he had more walks than anybody in professional baseball. Early in the year, he's at 20 something. And that was more than anybody in the big leagues, anybody in the minor leagues, but he wasn't really hitting that well, right? It looks like he's kind of come through the same evolution of evolving into being a patient hitter that can draw a walk, but also can then strike when a hittable pitch is there. Man, we're starting to see real depth, like when he's out there, and he's playing well enough that you're starting to say, like, like I know everyone had their irks about the Jonathan India $8 million. It's spent. I don't care, and John Sherman's got the money, so don't worry about it. If Jonathan India ends up being a pinch hitter for this team, fine. Okay, it's not the end of the world if he's knocked down because there's better options. But are we going to be talking about a Michael Massey, Nick Loftin platoon as the way to go at second base?
Well, real quick with India, do you ever listen to Quatrero on MLB Network Radio?
No.
Okay. I try to catch it every week because they just ask different questions. Like, it's national is different than local, obviously. Like, they're often dumber questions, let's be real, but it's fine. But he mentioned Jonathan India today and talked about how he's going to see a specialist tomorrow or Tuesday and to talk about next steps. Doesn't sound like he's going to be back anytime soon. Maybe the specialist is like, yeah, he can play. He's good, and he comes back. I don't know. I think it sounds like this is Massey and Loftin for the foreseeable future, which I'll take that. Michael Massey has looked pretty good. I don't want him playing against lefties. He had a double on Friday against Kikuchi. He was 0 for 3 today, I think, with a walk. So, he's kind of forced into it if Garcia can't play because the roster, there's just nobody else who can play second base and third. If Loftin has to play third, Massey's playing second on this team. But once Garcia's, and he seems to be back, if you platoon those two, I think you get a very productive group. They're they're kind of polar opposites of each other because Massey's not going to walk very often. He's going to hit the ball over the wall.
Probably not going to hit a homer.
Right. And Massey's going to double and homer. He's got some pop, and he had a pretty good week. So they're very different, but I think they both play a solid second base defensively. Massey's probably better than Loftin, but he's also playing 3/4 of the time if it's a platoon. I think it works. I think it works really well. Nick Loftin's a guy to me that you look at, and he's the kind of a litmus test for a manager. If he's doing really well, it's probably because the manager's using him well, and he is putting him in spots to succeed. And he's the guy who you go, why isn't he playing more? Well, if he played more, the numbers would suck. But he's playing just the right amount, getting in the right spots. I think he works really well for this roster. The numbers, obviously, 400 on base, 400 slug, 800 OPS, 127 weighted runs created plus so far this year. Hard to argue. He'll get you some doubles here and there. He's not the fastest guy, but he's not going to kill you on the bases. He has 5 walks and 2 strikeouts. I mean, yeah, you'll take that. And then you got Massey, who's got 11 strikeouts and 2 walks. The overall numbers aren't as good, but the last week or so, Massey's really picked it up too. I mean, I think that's a productive platoon.
If India came back right now, who would you send out?
Diaz. That's the easy answer. I think you get rid of the third catcher.
Yeah.
But yeah, I other than that, that's a good question. Trying to think about. I mean, maybe Starling Marte gets the old DFA at this point. If it's not Diaz, I don't know who else would make sense. Which is a good problem to have. Right. A week ago I would have said Isaac Collins because he was hitting, but they were on the road, so he was just coming off an Hooper. But right now you can't send him down the way he's hit. So
Marte has a 258 on base, a 345 slug. He has not walked once and has struck out 10 times.
Yeah, he's not getting, and he's not playing good defense.
Well, and you're not paying him anything. So I mean, that's
he's an easy answer. I don't know. Did you see that Tommy Pham was DFA'd?
No.
So maybe there's that.
Well, I mean, I think the hope is that Nick Loftin, if you would make a move on Marte, that Nick Loftin is okay. That's where he can play as well. As he becomes the right-handed part of the outfield.
If India's back, yes,
India's back.
But if India's not, you still need that right-handed outfield bat. So yeah, it's interesting because it's not because they're such a great roster that there's nobody to send down. It's because the guys they need to fit are there for a reason. And if they're gone, it gets really weird. But Marte I think Marte is a really easy DFA candidate when they've got another option.
Yeah, if they get now, the problem with it probably won't be Marte till after the All-Star break.
Maybe mid-June. Yeah,
you've got to feel real good that Nick Loftin can handle it. That Michael Massey can handle his part. Like if you start putting it together, that Jac Caglione's hitting because Marte's there because you feel like you're going to get a professional at bat from him. He can play in the outfield. He's right-handed. All those things, but also he allows you to send guys down who are perhaps fragile mentally and need a pick me up. So you got to feel real good about the other guys when you finally say, okay, we're going to cut bait with Marte. But I mean, can we say this? I don't think there's a playoff lineup or a playoff roster that has Marte on it.
Yeah, probably not.
At least the way it's going right now. I mean, I guess there is if he would turn the corner and really.
It's so far away, that it could change. But yeah,
the 10 strikeouts, no walks, and no homers. I mean, it's not like but he's hit the ball over the wall 3 times. Like he's not really doing much of anything. He's got 3 doubles.
He's not hitting it hard either. Yeah. I mean, he's not. It's not terrible, but yeah, he struggled. I saw. I lost the comment. Somebody said he had a late start. Yes, he did. So a little grace maybe, but at this point, he's the easy move if they need to make a move.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit here about Cole Ragans. That's the other piece of good news. We'd seen him have a couple of games where he couldn't find the plate. Even when he was successfully danced around 4 walks and 1 strikeout a couple of games ago. But to come out and be the dominant Cole Ragans, I mean, whew, like that was just a
Yeah.
okay. Yes, he's
Breathe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was I the only one? It was like relief as much as it was excitement that, okay, the ace caliber Cole Ragans is still with us.
Yes.
I'm not saying he's going to be an ace every game, but just to see that the ability is there. If I saw another one where he wasn't striking guys out and, was walking
the
guys,
world. Yeah.
I was going to start getting pretty nervous.
I mean, 27 whiffs. I know the Angels have swing and miss issues, but still, that's an incredible number. I was excited. And, I haven't had a chance to do this yet, but I want to do a side by side and look at some of the video, because he talked about his mechanics. And he actually mentioned, there was Andy Rogers wrote an article about it, that he mentioned, I forgot what it was, something with his left leg, his plant leg. And I want to see it myself, because it seems like he's saying it was a fully mechanical issue that he's figured out, which is great. Yes, give me a mechanical issue every single day, because those are fixable. I'm sitting there, I'm worried, well, is his thumb hurt? Is his shoulder hurt? Does his groin hurt? Does his, all these things that he's had happen to him, and some are not his fault and some are, or none of this is his fault. Injuries aren't their fault, but some are freak injuries, like the thumb thing. But, and I'm going through this and I'm going, well, if it's mechanics, I'm not worried. They'll figure it out. And he goes out there and averages 96.5 with his fastball, which, by the way, the first thing I thought of was, Soren's going to be worried that his velocity's up.
I'm worried when it's down, and then I'm worried when it's up. I want it to be right where it's supposed to be, because when it's up, I'm worried Tommy John's right around the corner. Right. When it's down, I'm like, well, it's his shoulder. It's just where is he hurt? Yes, I always panic about that kind of thing, for sure.
But I mean, it was up where it was before, and he was talking about some games he was watching from 2024 when he was averaging more on his fastball. I also thought it was fantastic. I mean, you look at the numbers inning by inning. He averaged 97.6 in the first, which generally guys are higher in the first inning. He was 97.1 in the fifth, 96.2 in the sixth. He held the velocity, which I think is a really good sign. The movement was incredible. The Angels just couldn't pick it up, and they couldn't pick up his changeup, which nobody can pick up his changeup when it's on. That was the start that you look at and you go, okay, they do have a game one starter. Like you wondered for a week and a half if they do somehow rally and make it all the way back, which a week and a half ago thought was impossible. Now it's improbable, but not impossible. Who's going to start game one? Waka and Lugo are having nice seasons, but they're prone to blow ups because they're not dominant. Noah Cameron's not a guy. Chris Bubich maybe, but he's struggled a little bit too. Okay, number one, Cole Ragans is back, and I am also glad that he won't be pitching in Sacramento. I think that's a disaster stadium for everybody. I want to see him have more success. Now the Mariners have bats, so they're not an easy team to beat, but whatever Safeco T-Mobile Park, I think is what it is now, is a much easier park to pitch in. So I'm glad for that. But yeah, it was really, really good to see. I think about it like, we talk about when Mahomes makes a pass and defenders give that look.
Right.
The batters were giving that look after the at-bats from Ragans. He was just dominant.
Yeah, he was. Also dominant has been Daniel Lynch. It's time for Daniel Lynch to get a more valuable role. Are we buying in enough? Now the velocity's been going up here for a couple of years. The strikeout numbers, what do you pin the he's at over 11 Ks per nine right now. Where are you putting, what are you attributing that to?
Well, his slider is disgusting. It's got 2/3 of swings on his slider are whiffs. If you swing, you're going to swing and miss 2 out of every 3 times against that pitch. But I think the velocity bump has been kind of the thing for him, because it's allowed his slider to play up even more.
But on Fangraphs, it's not showing like what we like. It's almost like it's just a show thing. Like, here, look at this. Like,
yeah.
I'm curious as to, he's clearly doing something very different.
I think part of it, if you look at, at pitch usage, one, he's gone away from his four-seamer, which the four-seamer has always been not great. He's gone much more sinker slider, which I think has helped him quite a bit, because last year he threw the four-seamer. It's not all that different, but he threw the four-seamer 23% of the time. This year it's 18.5%, which is not a ton, right? But it's down. He threw the sinker 19%. It's up to 26%. And so I think the pitch mix a little bit. I think his locations have just been generally better. I think the slider has been generally better. I mean, the metrics on the pitch don't look all that different, but his extension is way down, and I haven't figured out if that's good or bad. I mean, it's worked, obviously.
Results are good, yeah.
The results are really good, so it's probably really good. It might be one of those things that he's so tall and he's so long limbed that he doesn't need to have crazy extension. And maybe it's been maybe the mechanical change has been good for him, and it's made the slider even better, because the slider was a good pitch last year. I mean, 30% whiff rate, that's good. Didn't give up a lot of hits on it, that's good, but it's been dominant so far this season. And yeah, but I think, to be fair, he's gotten more leverage. I mean, he was the guy who came out in the 10th on Monday, I guess it was. He was the guy who got a big out the other day, and I thought it was interesting what Quatrero said. It must have been Tuesday's game when he came out. He got the last out of an inning. There was a big out because it was up. They were at 5-0, and he got to 5-3, and he got the big out with either 2 on or the bases loaded. And he didn't come back out. And I thought it was really interesting. Quatrero's comment was, I didn't put him back out there because you're so amped up to get that out that it's hard to get back to that. You come in, you de-stress. It's hard to get back out there and get that adrenaline back pumping. After that, I thought that was really interesting. But he was the guy that was turned to when they needed a big out. So I think he's getting those Lucas Erceg outs that Erceg was getting when Estevez was in there.
It is amazing to look at, like, his fastball percentage you were talking about. I mean, he was at 41% when he first came up. He's at 18.5% now.
Yeah.
I mean, which is what you see all throughout baseball on guys when they, as they mature, they get away from just throwing the fastball. Like that almost, he also came up in the Dayton Moore era where they were probably preaching, everything's got to work off.
They probably took away everything but his fastball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now how different he is, and now starting to realize some of the potential. I mean, when he was drafted in that draft class, Keith Law had him as the guy with the biggest ceiling.
Higher than anybody, yeah.
Yeah, out of the whole bunch. And so
he got up to like 30th in the prospect rankings, I want to say. Let me look at that. But he was very well regarded as a prospect, and rightfully so. He had a good minor league career. He was Baseball America. He was 25 pre-2021, 29 on MLB Pipeline, and then 70 on Baseball Prospectus, which is odd, but
yeah. But yes. Whoops. Almost pulled down the wrong thing to cough right there. No, but it's been great to see his maturation. And right now I'm kind of fine with him where he is.
Yeah.
But they've got some other options if they need to at the back of the pen. Him raising his game, I think, is an important part of the equation.
Huge.
What is it going to take to win this division? We started out talking about where they are, only 3.5 games back. Somebody's going to get hot, right? I mean, or are we really going to see division champions at 87 wins, this year all across the board?
Baseball's gotten a little bit weird. We talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago that there's a lot of parity. Every team does the same things, like you said.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to get hot though. I mean, maybe it is 88 wins that wins the division. But I mean, look, the Guardians and Tigers, they're what is 15 and 14 on pace for, like 84 wins, 83 wins, something like that. It's baseball the last year plus. I've said this before. Every time you thought a team was done, they get hot. And every time you think a team is going to just take off and run away and hide, they get cold. There's just a lot of up and down. And, it's not, the Royals have, they got through a quote unquote easier week, 4-2, which is what they needed to do. Probably should have won at least one of those games against the Orioles too, which is really frustrating. Now they go to Sacramento. The A's are better than the two teams they played, I think, but not significantly. The Mariners they're getting hot right now, but they haven't been great. And then they get a chance against Cleveland and Detroit at home, where they've been much better. We can say this all year long, probably, I'm sure, but it's 6 games on the road and 7 games at home. They're 2-10 on the road. These next 13 games, I mean, they could be done with these next 13 games and be at the top of the division, which is ridiculous. And it's, again, an indictment on the two teams at the top more than
it could be mathematically. I
don't think they will, but
all the teams is unlikely because somebody else figures to get hot, and that somebody else has a head start on them right now. But it is
absolutely
nice. I think they will psychologically feel a lot better when they can put somebody below them.
Yes,
right? Like right now
they're tied with the White Sox now,
but alphabetically the White Sox go first, so they're still sitting down at the bottom. So all the more incentive to get in front of them. But to get in front of the White Sox and Twins, which you really felt like coming into this year, they're going to be behind us. No matter what, this is a 3-horse race. It's us. Detroit's the favorite, and we should be better than Cleveland, but Cleveland's always tough, and we don't know how, but they'll be there again. Okay, then you start to feel like, okay, I think if you can get the White Sox and Twins behind you, I hope there's not a letdown, first of all, but it begins to be the season you thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And I would think that take the weight off the back, get the monkey off the back. Okay, we haven't killed ourselves. This is the year we thought it was going to be. It's us, it's the Guardians, and it's the Tigers. Let's focus on the business at hand. That's what I think they can do. And by the way, the Mariners and A's are basically 500-ish teams playing 500-ish baseball right now. One of them's 4-6 in the last 10. One of them's 5-5. One of them's one below 500. One of them's one above 500. I think, if I got that right. Let me look.
The A's are 2 over. The Mariners are 1 under. Yeah,
right. But so the A's have a -8 run differential. The Mariners have a +6 run differential. So they're 500-ish teams. So
and to be fair, the Royals are -19. They are where they should be.
Yeah. I would love to say, okay, they're gonna go 4-2. They might. It would be great. They've got some momentum as they head out. Get the first one in Sacramento, and I think it gets. Now I can see it, but go out there and drop the first one. Then you're just trying to.
I think the first game is crazy important because you just went 0-6 on the road.
Yeah,
and like it or not, there's a psychological impact. We can't win on the road. They're 2-10, right? I mean, I really think they need to win the first game. They either need to win the first game or get blown out. I think if you lose a close game on the road, you're gonna feel here we go again. And winning is obviously preferable. It's like 99.9% win, 0.1% blowout. A close loss is the worst thing that could happen to them on Tuesday night, and that's a really important game because they need to get that monkey off their back.
Yeah, no, I would agree. So what do you think it will take to win this division?
I think it probably 88 wins probably gets it done. Because I think there's some cannibalizing it. The Twins aren't as good as they've been. They've started to fall back. The White Sox are better than they were.
You think 88 will get it done in the sense that the second place team will have 87 wins or less? Or you think the winner of the division will have 88 wins?
I think
there's 2 ways because like you know what I'm saying? Like if somebody wins 106 games and second place wins 87, 88 would have got it done.
That's fair. Yeah, you're that's fair. Yeah.
I'm just asking you, which way are you when you say 88? Are you saying
I don't think anybody is winning more than 88.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that because I think Cleveland and Detroit they're gonna beat up on each other. I think the Royals hopefully can get in there too and beat up on each other. It's this whole the whole division is the White Sox still aren't good. The Twins I don't think are good, but they're not like 115 lost teams. And so I think that there's a lot of parity within the division that will lead to a lower total win total. But I think that there's a good chance that like they've had for the last 2 seasons that there's 3 teams over 500 in this division, which makes it tougher.
See, I think, then because after this road trip, they come home for 7 against the Guardians and Tigers.
Massive week.
Yeah.
You can't overstate how big that week is. And it's unfortunate that they had such a bad start because you shouldn't have a massive week May 4th to the 10th, but they do.
Yeah. So and then you get the White Sox and Cardinals after that on the road for 6, a Boston team that's firing everybody. So maybe a stretch right there with the White Sox, Cardinals. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Cardinals are 1 over 500, but settling into the bottom of the NL Central.
Yeah, I don't think they're that good.
I don't think they're that good either. And so that could be a nice stretch of 9 games to get fat, but 6 on the road and then 7 with Cleveland and Detroit. The next couple of weeks might shape what their season's going to be.
If they went 7-6, would you be happy? Would that be and let me change. Would I be
happy? Yeah, I probably would. I mean, would I be over the moon? No. I don't think we're going to be over the moon but I'm glad you brought that up because that was a point I wanted to make that we hadn't gotten to yet. If they went 7-6, they'd be 18 and 23.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or have I not refreshed this?
No, that's right. They're 10 and
11 and 17 now. Yeah.
11 and 17. Yeah.
They'd be 18 and 23. I think you want to get to 500 as fast as you can. But that was the point I was going to make is with the schedule that's coming up, I think you just got to get used to looking at sub 500. I don't think you want to look if they can rip through the A's and Mariners and win 4 more straight and then win, sweep the A's or even just go 4-2. If they can just go 4-2 and take 2 more off this, that'll be great. But then you're looking at 15 and 19, right? Then you're coming home for that tough 7-game stretch. You go 4-3 in that. I mean, I just think we need to be prepared. We're probably still several weeks away from seeing 500.
I would agree. And the other thing too, 7-6, if they win 6 on the road, they're not going to, and then go 1-6 against the Tigers and Guardians, you hate that. And that's 7-6, but it matters how they get there. But I think just in general, if they were 18 and 23 at the end of that stretch, I don't think I'd be too upset. I'd prefer better, but
if they were 18 and 23 and then they're going into 9 where they can go 6-3, now you're coming out of that 24 and 26. You're starting to be able to see it. I would love to think that they can play good enough baseball that when they get done with Boston, that they're 50 games into the year that they can get to 25 and 25. And that would be on May 20th. That's what I'd love to see.
Okay.
I'd love to see it. I think it's probably more realistically. Because the problem is then it's 3 with Seattle and 3 with the Yankees. Then it's 3 at Texas, 3 at Cincy. It could be that they're slogging along, playing better ball, but they don't get above 500 until early June when they catch a stretch of 4 at Minnesota. Then they got 3 at Texas, 3 with Houston, 3 at home against Texas, 3 at Houston, and then at Washington for 3. I mean, there aren't a lot of really crappy teams. There's no great teams, no crappy teams.
There's not a lot of terrible teams, and they also don't get we talked about this last year. They had a pocket where they faced all the crappy teams in a row, and that 16-2 stretch after they started 8-14, they got the Rockies, they got the White Sox, they got a bad version of the Astros. And look, maybe we'll end up looking at it later in the year and go, well, we thought this wasn't going to be, but the Rangers, Astros. The Twins, Rangers, and Astros were really struggling, and so that was 10 games that were right in a row in June, and so we might end up looking back on it that way. But right now, you just don't get that 10 to 12 game stretch where you feel like you should win every single one of them, and when you're not going to, but they just don't have that right now.
Yeah, no. By the way, real quick, Crown Center location that came out this week. You like it?
I do. The rendering was funny. I don't think you can put fountains in the batter's eye.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if you look at the rendering, ignore the stadium. That view is pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, I like the view. By the way, the PR department of the Royals reached out. Some people were talking about that, and they started firing out that, you just can't have it activated. You can't have it in center field. They tried to claim there's a couple stadiums that do. I'm like, I don't know. I don't really care. It just seems.
I mean, the Angels are in center, left center, right? They're not dead center, are they?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to go
and say they're not going to have it.
I don't really care. I'm not going to argue about it with the PR department until you say this is our plan.
Yeah, I don't care what the rendering looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as
I
it
care what
wasn't.
it's ultimately going to look like.
Yes. I don't
So,
care what the rendering looks like before it's even an official deal.
Yeah.
But I do love the look that you're gonna get out, out the outfield walls, and you get to see buildings, and I think it's gonna be really cool. I think it's a great location to connect neighborhoods, to connect sections of the city. Um, I like it. I want to obviously want to see more. We don't know enough yet, but
right.
I like it. Do you like it?
Yeah, I like that one of the teams is going to be in Kansas and one is going to be in Missouri. I think that's how it
Yeah.
should be. I think both sides of the state line should be flipping the bill for things, and so I think that's important. But yeah, I like it. I think it does, and I like it for the existing businesses
Mhm.
because I think there's plenty of existing businesses that are going to benefit down there, and I
Yeah.
think the Crossroads area is a cool area. Everything that's going on there, I think it. My hope is that it will really tie together the Loop to Crown Center. And Crown Center is not that far from tying together to the plaza. And you can just, I think there's, and plus I think it fuels more mass transit, which we need. That by
Yeah.
putting it
I
close
hope
to
the streetcar expands even more.
the streetcar expands, but I also think you can start using full on trains into Union Station from the Amtrak stations that are in like Independence, Lee Summit,
Yeah.
Olathe. Then you could run trains in for that. And I think it's something
That's a great
the city has
point.
to do. So I like that part of the equation for sure. Listen, you can support the Kaufman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors. We certainly hope you will. When it comes to any kind of concrete, paving, asphalt, only one place, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. They've been solving concrete parking problems for more than 30 years. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. Our friends at Italian Delight, first restaurant to bring true New York style pizza to KC almost 50 years ago. Don't forget, they've got lunch specials starting at under $10. Find them online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Greenlight Dispensary, 15 locations in Missouri, more on the way. Greenlight, your go-to for all your cannabis needs. Tell them you heard about it right here on the Kaufman Corner podcast and our friends at Northland Injury Law. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222 or call 816-400-HURT. Voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers. Tell them you heard about it here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. For 40 years, they've been serving Kansas City. Google 5-star rated. It's Northland Injury Law. For David Lesky from Inside the Crown, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here